Alrighty, we're out in the main room today tracking drums for a guitarist friend of mine over in America. His name is Ricky Davenport. We do a lot of projects together, a lot of back and forwarding. He also writes on bass, he writes drums as well. He's a great drummer. But this is a project for him that he's doing that's sort of based on the 90s, 2000s grunge sound, a little bit of that heavy rock, hard alternative sort of new metal sound as well. And yeah, I thought I'd give you guys a quick rundown of what I've done to set up for this session. So to start off with, I'm using a 20 by 16. Just loving how big this kick is sounding. I'm only doing one kick in and I'm sitting it just inside the port. So halfway in, captures the low end, but it also captures enough of the attack too, being that it's a smaller drum and facing right towards the batter head. What else am I doing? So if we come around to the toms, I have 4 toms on the kit, but I'm actually only recording 2 of them. So I'm treating this as a 4-piece. So I've got my 12 and my 16. I'm using another V kick on the floor, and I'm using a V beat on the 12, and the 12 is not mounted on the kick drum, just for a little bit more isolation, as I mentioned in my last video. For the snare, I am using the V7X for the top, and I am using a SE8 for the bottom. So that's basically the angles and where they're sitting together. The SE8 for a snare bottom is the perfect snare bottom mic. It's a small diaphragm pencil mic, super sensitive, has a really nice crunchy sound to it that I really enjoy for that, for the snare wire buzz. Now, I've told you guys I don't use a snare bottom a lot when I'm recording, but when I'm recording for someone else, I always add it in as an option. Now, for my hi-hats, I am using the Dynacaster, and I'm doing a bottom miking technique. So I do this basically just to avoid as much snare bleed as possible, and I really love the way that the Dynacaster sounds for hats. It sounds quite thick, not too many highs in it. A good amount of body for such crispy small hi-hats. What else have we got? For the overheads, I am doing the SE8s as well. So I've got the 4400s, I've got the T2s, which I really love, but for overheads I just love the focus of the SE8s. They've become my favorites for quite some time now, and so the way that I do it is that they are in phase of the snare, so same distance from left to right, and I have them pointing in a touch. So that's just to make sure that they're more focused on the cymbals than the drums themselves, even though they're both equally distanced from the snare for a balanced sound. And I'm not using a ride mic, so what I do is I position the overhead ride right above the ride, and this also pulls it away from my main crash on my right hand side, which creates a similar distance to the left crash and the left overhead. So I think that's a pretty good balance. I'll show you guys after this little video how it all sounds with the isolated drums. And then what I'm doing over here is my room mics are T2s. So these are basically titanium versions of the 4400s. Absolutely love these mics, they're stunning. I've used them for kickouts, overheads, hi-hats, bit of everything really. And the way that I've got them is a 90 degree, and then basically centered to the snare and the kick attack. So the rooms sound centered to the line between the snare and the kick. After a lot of experimentation, that's sort of what I find works best for what I'm after. Look, there's 1,000 ways to skin the cat with this stuff, but this is what I like. And my setup here is I'm using an Element 88, so an Apogee Element 88, which has 8 tracks on it. And because I've got 2 extra tracks, I'm using my Duet 3, which I've created an aggregate interface between the two, which gives me 10 channels in total. And all my main mics are on there, and then my 2 room mics are on here. The clock between the 2 interfaces is fine, so there's no latency, everything tracks well, and everything comes up well on here. So 10 tracks in total, and everything that I need to give Ricky the most optimum and full and high quality sound that I can produce, really. I'm really loving it. And then what I decided to do this time was have the drums just coming off the back wall, just to focus in the sound a little bit more. Probably the next step will be starting to experiment with shields a little bit, but I'm still finding that the close mics have a really nice focused sound on them, so I'm not too fussed about that for now. And yeah, that's what we're going for. So what I'll do now is I will play you guys a little bit of the isolated drums. What I'm doing for Ricky too is just full takes, no edits, just a single take of vibe, and capturing that feel as well with you know, no edits. I like the old school way of doing these things. So I'll do take after take until I get the right full single take, and yeah, let's have a listen to that now. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, cheers.